Hey everyone, Vidhi here, and I'm currently a first year TU Delft Computer Science and Engineering Bachelor student. Today I'm going to be talking about how I actually got into TU Delft, covering the application process and the online entrance exam called the CST. But first, a quick background about me is that I was an IB student, so I did the DP program in an international school in the Netherlands. I'm one of the May 2024 graduates, and the higher level subjects I took were mathematics, analysis, and approaches, which is actually a subject requirement for this bachelor, business management higher level, and computer science higher level. Whereas the standard level classes I took were physics standard level, English language and literature A standard level, Dutch language and literature A standard level. Much like many technical universities in the Netherlands, TU Delft's application requirements for this bachelor is simply that you need a diploma and a sufficient mathematics level. Interestingly enough, TU Delft does not take your predicted or final grades into consideration for your application, which means that there's actually no grade requirement other than passing high school and your math class. For me, that just meant getting my high school diploma and getting a 4 or higher in maths higher level. This is because TU Delft determines your ranking based on only your performance on the entrance exam, but more about that later. It is super important to note that in some countries, the national system's high school diploma is not recognized by TU Delft. So it is very important to go to their website and check whether the high school diploma and country you're applying from is considered valid or not. You can find this information on their website, but I'll link it in the description just in case. The next steps in your application depend on what track you want to follow at Delft. Since 2023, I believe, TU Delft split the Computer Science and Engineering Bachelor into a Dutch track and an English track. This means that even though there are 550 places in total, half of them are reserved for English-speaking applicants and half for Dutch-speaking applicants. The difficulty of the entrance exam is the same for both tracks, but for the Dutch applicants, a significant portion of the exam is in Dutch. For both of these tracks, you need some sort of language proficiency test. For English applicants, you need to prove that you meet the English language requirements, either by showing that you took English classes throughout high school, or by doing IELTS, TOEFL, or whatever system you would prefer within a year of applying, I believe. The same applies for Dutch applicants. You need to show proof for the Dutch language requirements. Since I took Dutch language and literature A, I only had to prove that I was passing the class. And after that, so after making sure you have your language proficiency and making sure that your high school diploma is valid, you should be good to go in terms of application requirements. After that, then you can apply to the bachelor via Studielink, which is the website the Dutch government uses for anyone applying to universities in the Netherlands. So, first you will need to open an account on Studielink, then fill in all of the application information, and then apply. This process is super straightforward, and you can find detailed information on the Delft website, including the dates that you can apply, more information about the language proficiency, more information about the English and the Dutch track, and more or less everything you need to know. To be completely honest, I would say that during this entire application process, the 3 booklets on the TU Delft website are your best friend, because anything about the application process they cover. Seriously, everything. The process timeline, the syllabus for all 3 of the exams, and even registering on Studielink. So I would seriously suggest that you refer back to that when in doubt. Okay, now here's the part I'm sure all of you guys clicked on this video for, the entrance exam. As I'm sure you know, computer science and engineering is a numerous fixes course, which means that no matter how many students apply, only 550 students will be selected based on a ranking system. So here's how it works. Every applicant's rank is calculated based only on their performance on the CSC entrance exam. This exam consists of 3 parts. You have your mathematics, your systematic reasoning and logical thinking part, and you have your algorithmic and computational thinking part. You should be able to see the 2024 percentages somewhere on your screen. Let's start with the mathematics exam. In my opinion, this one was the hardest exam because you have to complete a lot of questions in a very limited time frame and you don't get any method marks. This means that you only give your final answer, no working. And if your final answer is correct, you get a mark. And if it's not correct, you don't. So be very careful with typos. The syllabus for this exam and the formula sheet you can use are on the Delft website, as well as the pre-university calculus course, which is an online course that you should use to study for this exam. It is located on EDX. And this course is super important, and I highly recommend going through it at least once so you get an idea of what type of questions will be asked on the actual exam. Next, the reasoning and logic exam. This is actually a course that you will have during the first quarter in your first year if you choose to decide to go to TU Delft. And it is based on 1 chapter from the Delft's Foundations textbook. Just because it's 1 chapter, don't think that you can get away with not studying it, because you really need to study this. This was, in my opinion, probably the easiest exam because reading the chapter and completing all of the given questions prepares you really well for the exam. However, when I had to take the CST, I was really nervous, and I asked a few first years to help clear up a few concepts when I got stuck. So as long as you study it, you should be fine for this section. But seriously, study it. The algorithmic thinking exam is essentially using your critical thinking skills to solve a series of puzzles. So there's unfortunately no official way of studying for it. It just tests how good you are at solving mathematical and logical problems. Your results in the combination of these 3 exams result in something we call a Z-score, which measures your performance based on all the other applicants. So, if you do better than the average applicant, you'll have a higher Z-score. If you don't, then you'll have a lower Z-score. Applicants are then ranked based on the Z-score, and the top 550 people with the highest Z-scores are offered a place in the bachelor, where they can choose to attend or not. The rest are all put on a waiting list, and since the tracks are split, every Dutch applicant is given an odd ranking number and an English applicant is given an even. So rank number 1 is the best performing Dutch applicant, rank number 2 is the best performing English applicant, and so on and so on. My ranking number was 297, so I got my position in the bachelor's immediately after receiving my ranking. The way it works is that if someone declines their offer, then it goes to the next in the wait list. So, first 551 would be offered a place, then 552, and so on and so on. In my year, the lowest ranking that got offered a position was 720, which is more or less the yearly average. But unfortunately, this means that if you're not in the top 800 students, then your chances of making it into the bachelor are unfortunately insanely low. The next thing I want to talk about is the teamwork assignment, which is a project you do with other applicants after your CSC, but before you receive your ranking. This project is just for fun and for you to get to know your fellow applicants, and it has no effect on your ranking whatsoever. However, it is a timed competition and you do not need any prior coding experience. But you also cannot really study for it in advance, so I would just say to not worry about this component and to have fun when you do it. Finally, one of the most important things when applying to universities in the Netherlands is housing. Delft, like most cities in the Netherlands, has a serious housing crisis, so you should apply for student housing or find housing as soon as possible. In fact, I recommend securing housing before you take the CST. I know that might sound crazy, but you can ensure your position at Delft through hard work. Housing, on the other hand, is not something you can guarantee. I recommend using housing platforms like Room.nl, Kamernet, and I Am Expert. One more thing that's not as well known is that all students, international and Dutch, can apply for a card called the Studentenreisproduct, which is essentially a card that makes public transport free during weekdays or weekends, depending on what option you choose for that card. So if finding housing in Delft is not possible for you, you can always try neighboring cities like Rotterdam, Schiedam, or even Rijswijk. Even though this will have a higher travel time, at least you can commute without travel costs, and you have a guaranteed place to stay. If you want more information about the benefits for students in the Netherlands, like the Studentenreisproduct, then subscribe and let me know. Then I can make more videos about it in the future. Once you've done all of that, you are basically all set to start your journey as a computer science and engineering student in Delft. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions regarding the process or have anything you want me to create a separate video on, you can let me know in the comments, and I'll do my very best to help. So thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time.